Hello, trading as closed on March 31st, 2016. Yesterday we had a MEJT target of 2062.13 that printed, and there was resistance over the target. There's a new target, most likely to print tomorrow, of 2065.77. During the day, MEJT said this rally was a false move and that after this time prices would return to this line, which they did. It said here ultimately lower prices would print, which they did. It now says the move is false. We encountered resistance right at the MEJT resistance area, but the system still looks for 2065.77, most likely to print tomorrow. This is a pattern which almost always closes near the day's high, and when it fails to close near the day's high, it's pretty negative, unless it's invalidated by having a gap over this high, or at least trading over it promptly after the open. So the question is, how likely is that to happen? And I think the answer is quite likely. First of all, we have the MEJT target of 2065.77. If this is a major change in trend, it could fail, but usually it's closer to the high. We also have a wall of selling into the close. You know my feeling about walls. If you look at the futures chart, not only was there a wall of selling, but if you look at volume, the volume was absolutely astronomical. Here's the volume at the market open. You'll see it's absolutely dwarfed by the volume of selling into the close. The only people I think who are doing selling here are the amateurs and people who are forced to sell because of margin calls. These people almost always get spanked at the following open by having prices gap up. The reason is the only ones available to take the other side of these contracts are the market makers, and they typically pick a price where they get their money back soon and a lot more besides. So for tomorrow, I should say if the call fails, it'll fail in spades, most likely with a gap under today's low. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. So for tomorrow, I look for a gap outside of the day's range. I think the odds are quite strong it's going to be over today's high. And we have a MEJT target of 2065.77. If we don't get the gap outside the day's range, look for a close, little change, and a big move on Monday. A word of caution. This is the daily chart, and if we get the gap up high enough, we could get an early bar 13 of a combo sell signal on the daily chart. Therefore, if we do have a gap up, we have to be alert for a possible gap and trap in which the gap up is immediately reversed. Those bars don't have to go to completion at 13 for the green and the blue, but very often they do. And that's today's call.